What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. The fever around the Switch 2 announcement that people are anticipating right now is at an all-time high over the weekend. So much so, there was discussion going around about sketches that were made for certain parts of the system, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Banjo Kazooie, as a certain person actually at Microsoft had some quotes get online, and then they actually responded to the controversy that broke out on the internet. Then we'll also be talking about a sale that is currently ongoing for the Switch. One set up to get you in the Halloween spirit as we head through the rest of the month. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button down below. We're gonna start today with Spider-Man 2, as heading into the weekend, we did get some news from Insomniac for a port of the game heading to PC. We can see this posted up, this over on their official account, where they say, just announced at Marvel's New York Comic-Con panel, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC on January 30th, 2025. You can wishlist on Steam and the Epic Game Store. Now, there are many features, of course, that'll go along with this, with Insomniac and on PC, ray tracing, higher resolution, just better visuals, all kinds of graphical features you can turn on or off depending on your build. And as we've seen with the previous Spider-Man games on PC, it does look incredibly impressive with the ultra widescreen monitor, all the bells and whistles. But this also did bring up the conversation around the window, continuing to kind of shrink between PlayStation 5 exclusive release and then PC release, so much so that it's down to just over a year for something like Spider-Man 2. I did an entire video around this over the weekend where I really dove into a lot of that stuff and why it may or may not matter for Sony in the long run and what, I guess, people who have a PS5 maybe would think about that, so you could check all that stuff out. But hey, if you've been waiting for Spider-Man 2 to come to PC, not too much longer, look towards the end of January. Also, stop me if you've heard this one before, it appears another game has leaked early for the Nintendo Switch. It's pretty much expected at this point, and in this case, it's a third-party game. We can see this over on My Nintendo News. They say Sonic Cross Shadow Generations has seemingly leaked online. It seemed like somebody was just streaming the game and like just playing through it, and there were some screenshots and videos even popping up on social media, like on Twitter, that I saw just scrolling through. And again, this is just Nintendo having to deal with that now, even for a third-party capacity. So you kind of understand why Nintendo has become incredibly aggressive around Switch emulators, because the system is still current and they want to try to protect that system as much as possible for software sales, which is very important now more than ever for them with the large install size, or they can sell hopefully a ton of copies in their mind. And they're worried that if things leak out, or if you can play it through an emulator, you won't buy the game. But again, affecting a third-party company. Now, with something like Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, I'm sure many people also want to be able to get it on like the PlayStation 5 or something like that, a high-end gaming machine for the visuals and stuff. But the fact that you can just see the game this early on is like, ooh, okay. That's once again Nintendo having to deal with a lot of the leaks around a system now that we're going to talk about here soon that is getting up there in age and have had these security issues for quite some time. But yeah, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations out there online, it appears. People keep streaming it and more stuff gets posted up. So watch out, I guess, for spoilers. Try to keep the blinders on until release. Oh, and we did get an announcement heading into the Pokemon trading card game Pocket release. It's a free-to-play title on phones, and we can see this as they put this card out online, where it says over 6 million people worldwide have pre-registered. Now, I believe they did like an early testing or early access period in certain parts of the world, I think like New Zealand, but here soon it will just launch globally, like outright, and obviously in the US for like myself, maybe I want to check it out, which I've thought about this. It's at the end of the month, so like October 30th or 31st, somewhere in there. This will go live. They've been just taking pre-registers to basically as like a, hey, I'm interested, free pre-order. I've thought about this. I did like the Pokemon trading card game on things like the Game Boy and recently even on the Switch where they dropped it in NSO. I know things have changed quite a bit when it comes to power scaling for the cards, and it's just getting all the cards. It does take up a lot of space. I've noticed this. And the idea of being able to open 2 packs for free each day is there's something fun, I guess, just to see what happens. I don't know if I'm gonna go heavy into it because I'm sure it would cost quite a bit of money, but maybe just download it to check it out and see how things are where it comes to more of the competitive side of the Pokemon trading card game, and open a couple packs a day for fun. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Switch 2, which there has been stuff getting out there online around this, but again, it hasn't been anything that tangible necessarily that I felt the need to really discuss it much in Newswave. However, something did happen over the weekend, sort of on the heels of something else happening, a certain anniversary for the Switch that has people realizing just how long the system has been out and how long it's been since we first learned about the hybrid system from Nintendo. First, though, let's talk about a sketch that was making the rounds. That's right. Someone actually drew something out for it. In this case, the dock and actually the back where like the kickstand is for this new device from Nintendo. Now we can see this was posted up. This was really circulating around online over on the Gaming Leaks Reddit. And on this, we can see the sketch. Yeah, that's basically what we're looking at is someone just, I guess, just drew it and then in paint or I guess on paper and scanned it or whatever. It's a very basic, crude sketch of what's supposed to be the dock and then that back kickstand. Now, Nate appears to have seen a sketch similar to this as he explained it on Famaboards, which they hide stuff there, but then oddly enough, Reddit just copy and paste it anyway for everyone to see. So odd relationship there between the two websites, but either way, it does seem like Nate has mentioned that they've seen something similar to this outside of the source that's putting this out there, so it's kind of lining up, but I want to be clear, he's not necessarily coming out and saying, oh, absolutely, I am backing this 100%. Still, though, we do have something that maybe is a bit clearer. For example, this is a rendering that was created by, it looks like Dave DeMaio, and okay, so now we can really get a good idea of this. So the dock itself, it just looks bigger than the current dock. I mean, it has the USB-C or the USB-A ports on the one side. Obviously, you can see where the Switch itself drops in. And then the back of the system, it has a kickstand that's kind of like the one we have now, just hollowed out technically on the inside angle there. So it makes a U. And that could just be for design choice. It could technically save you on materials as well. You could look at it that way. And it could also be maybe freeing up space for airflow when it's in its standing tabletop mode, or maybe there's something you want to route there, or just they like the idea of the design. But the dock is the thing that's really taking the lead here for conversation because it's just a weird looking size. I mean, it's very strange. Right? Like, so the back clearly is housing something there, and most likely people are speculating they could have something to do with just additional cooling for the device, which is possible. Could just be design aesthetic, and I mean, technically it's going to be very difficult to knock it over if it has kind of that wedge-shaped bottom to it. That's just sort of where we are now, is just, again, more and more mystery getting out there around this system, and I mean, for Nintendo, I guess it just adds on to the mystique of this device where 140 million plus people have the current system, and people are just kicking around ideas and thoughts with these small little bits of information getting out there, especially when you realize this. Oh, wow. The first time we saw the Switch was October 20th, 2016. That's right. Sunday was the 8-year anniversary since the announcement of it. Remember the trailer with the rooftop parties and the person going from dock to outside at the park playing Zelda to like the plane, and Skyrim was there, and then we had esports with Splatoon apparently. It was an interesting time online, and looking back on it, that announcement trailer just on Twitter alone amassed 62,000 likes. There's a lot of excitement and interest in it here, and now it's been 8 years since we've had a console release from Nintendo, like a brand new generation. So we are obviously due for one. It is wild to think that went on for 8 years. I don't think anyone would have thought, yeah, this is cool. Wait till 2024 when they're ready to announce the next system. Although I guess no one really probably thought this would end up becoming most likely Nintendo's best-selling system of all time, although we do need to see what the current sales figures are for the Switch, as there is some discussion around maybe things are declining a bit more than Nintendo was anticipating, so we'll see about that more so in about 2.5 weeks when they release some of their financial numbers. For now, though, yeah, 8 years since the Switch was first unveiled, and we're looking at sketches for the next dock of the Switch 2. interesting time online. Hopefully Nintendo's ready to announce that thing because it's getting kind of weird out there. Next up, let's talk about Black Myth Wukong, which absolutely took over the sales charts when it released, especially in China where it was extremely popular on Steam, but we didn't have a physical copy for this game. Remember, it released digitally on the PlayStation 5 and on like Steam PC platform. But now it looks like we do have a physical copy coming pretty soon. We can see this first that was posted up over on their official account. They say, Destin Ones, thank you for your patience. With the master disc for Black Myth Wukong ready, the PS5 physical edition will be available to you very soon. How soon, you may ask? Well, Bill decided to post up online that Black Myth Wukong PS5 physical edition will be released today, October 21st. All right, then. It says it's in the US, it's $65. It's $70 there in Europe. There's some box art for it. So, okay, I guess you'll see an announcement today that it's ready to roll. I mean, they even say multiple retailers. I don't know if they've already shipped it out and it's just there and ready to go, or these are just going to be online orders for it. We also saw over on the ESRB site that Xbox Series has been added for platforms for the Black Myth Wukong rating, which we know that there is a push to get it on Xbox. It just seemed like it was ready on PlayStation first. There's, of course, been discussion back and forth, time exclusivity deal or not, or just engineering issues maybe with the Xbox Series S version, which I've seen it play on the PS5. Not hard to believe that it's having a hard time on the Xbox Series S based on the way it played on the PS5, especially as you get further along in the game and there's just more stuff happening on screen with effects and combos and everything else. But in this case, a physical copy being announced, maybe released even today, and then an Xbox Series version coming up here in the next few weeks, I guess maybe ahead of the holiday season. So if you've been holding out for that Xbox version, not too much longer. If you've been holding out for a physical copy, maybe today, so keep an eye out. Next up, let's talk about some alleged comments that were made by Aaron Greenberg at Xbox. And these were for Banjo Kazooie. Now, I want to take a look at this. This was posted up over on Resetter, and they're citing a Spanish YouTuber who is actually discussing an event that they attended, which we can see this quote, where they say, a Spanish YouTuber and personality was recently at a flight sim event. Aaron Greenberg was there too. PR person apparently asked fans which games they wanted to see again. They answered Banjo Kazooie, and apparently Aaron Greenberg said, nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie. Well, I gotta tell you, this made the rounds quite heavily. I saw headlines everywhere, and I kind of joked a little bit about it, like, oh, is this the Jim Ryan? No one wants to play that old-looking game with Gran Turismo on the PS1 being played in front of him. It did kind of line up a bit there, but I do want to say Aaron Greenberg did respond online, which we can see this on his official account, where he says, I absolutely know how much Banjo Kazooie means to our fans and gamers everywhere. Holds a special place in my heart growing up playing these classic games. This was in response to Jay, who said that they were assuming it was sarcasm lost in translation. Now, we've had stuff get lost in translation a lot, right? We've gone over quotes, then turns out it was being misconstrued, or there was a poor translation, or we didn't have the tone correct. So I would give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. But the way we can kind of judge Microsoft is just on their actions, and they really haven't done a lot with Banjo. So it seems like Nintendo is more interested in Banjo right now than Microsoft is. Banjo Tooie gets announced, people lose their mind, specifically for like the Switch, with it going to NSO. I think Microsoft has an opportunity here with the Banjo Kazooie franchise if they want to make a new one, or if they can find someone to make a new one, because they don't seem to have an issue putting it on other platforms, and the Switch is set up beautifully, or technically the Switch 2 is set up beautifully for a new Banjo game to release there, and then also in Game Pass on the Xbox and maybe on PlayStation, right? Like, they could just go multi-plat with it, and I think it would do pretty well. Like, 3D platformers, sure, there is I don't say a smaller market, but there's a specific market. Like, there are certain 3D platformers that come out and they just do well. Mario being an obvious one, sure. Astro seems to be doing pretty well for Sony. So I think in Microsoft's mind, having a 3D platformer that can at least be in the conversation would be worth it and add variety to Game Pass. The issue again comes up, do they have someone who can make it? That's something they brought up for Killer Instinct. We don't really have someone who can make a fighting game like that currently on our roster of studios, despite them having a lot of studios that they've purchased. So maybe they'd have to outsource for it or contract out. What's Toys for Bob doing? Oh yeah, they spun off and they're doing something else. Or are they? Maybe they are working on a Banjo game or something brand new. Who's to say? But I do think there is a spot for Banjo whenever Microsoft's ready to call them up. And in our last bit of news, let's take a look at a sale that is currently ongoing on the Nintendo Switch. This one being for the Halloween season. It's going to run until October 31st, and we'll just kind of scroll through here. I picked out a few. Starting at the top with Animal Well, which is a fantastic Metroidvania-style game, a nice puzzle game. If you've never played it, it certainly sets that mood for just a very quiet, isolated effect, and I think it fits in perfectly with something like the Halloween season. Then we have Balatro, which probably doesn't need much of an introduction to many of you. I'm sure that one's $12.74. Animal Well, by the way, is $20. Ghost Trick, that one is $14.99. The classic Resident Evil 4 at $10. Dave the Diver at $14. Sonic Frontiers at $21. Doom Eternal at $10. Whenever Doom Eternal's on sale, I mean, it's like 80% off just about every time. Castlevania Advanced Collection at $12 is a good pickup, as well as Castlevania Anniversary Collection at $4. The highlight here, I think, is Alien Isolation at $15. If you're unaware, one, great game if you're trying to have like a kind of a spooky feel. That one definitely has, in the title, obviously, isolation to it, but just trying to avoid in this cat and mouse game with the xenomorph is next level stuff. And this game in particular, this port, actually looks a little better at times on the Switch than it does on the PS4, which is not at all common, so a good pickup there at $15. Little Nightmares 1 and 2, that one's $15. Plants vs. Zombies at $8. Inscription at $8. Lego Skywalker Saga at $14. And then Cult of the Lamb at $12.50. Again, I just went through and picked out a few, so leave some suggestions down below in the comments for what games people should be checking out when it comes to the Halloween season. For me, I'm still kind of rolling through Silent Hill 2 slowly, but I gotta say, I've been getting the urge to go back and play Alien Isolation all over again, so maybe I'll do that here. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played any of the Banjo Kazooie games? 60% say yes. Look at this though. 40% of people have not played it. That is actually incredible. Although, look, Banjo really hasn't been, I mean, how much do you want to count nuts and bolts, I guess, but the relevancy of Banjo obviously has not kept up with, you can't say Sonic or Mario, anything like that. So it is available pretty, like you can play it on NSO, it's on Xbox currently, like it's not hard to play Banjo Kazooie if you want to. It's just, it is a 3D platformer. It certainly harkens back to the old days, like the late 90s, early 2000s time that I still think is a golden era when it comes to gaming. Probably just my bias of being older, but still, it is a fun game and it performs pretty well on the Xbox and well enough on the Switch. So I do recommend firing it up and just at least giving it a try, see what you think. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Loyal, who says, it's madness when anyone says there's no games. I'm still playing through Dragon's Dogma 2, Alan Wake 2, Rise of the Ronin, and Stellar Blade. They're all in my backlog. I can't even think about fall releases. I will say it is kind of like that right now. There's just release after release after release. It is kind of madness, right? But I think, so when people say there's no games from Sony first party, what they mean is there's no game from Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, Blue Point, and you can't say Sucker Punch anymore because we have that, or Ben Studio, or so on. I mean, there's always games to play. So many games come out seemingly every week. You can look on Steam, there's thousands of games that come out, I mean, every quarter there. So there's always something to find and play, whether it's from the backlog or coming up soon. It just comes down to people's personal preferences and really which platform or studio they keep looking towards to say, okay, where are the games? Where are they, Sony, or where are they, Microsoft, or whoever, right? So that's kind of what it more or less means, because if people legitimately can't find anything to play right now, I don't know what to tell you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Friday Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to see one of those refurbished PlayStation 5 systems that Sony just recently started listing on their website. I actually ordered one, unboxed it, and did a full teardown on it. I'll leave it right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.